Cristiano Ronaldo with a brace. Guerrero opening the scoring. Portugal 3, Hungary 0 in their opening Euro 2020 game. And I'm telling you, you know what? It was a really entertaining match. Really good play, approach play by Portugal, but they couldn't really break Hungary down. They missed some absolute sitters in the first half. Jota was having a mare, no doubt about it whatsoever. But then they fell away. They fell away from proceedings massively in the game. Portugal, they kind of lost their confidence. Ronaldo missing the easiest chance of the game from a world-class cross from Bruno Fernandes. Bruno set it up, put it on the plate for Cristiano Ronaldo to break the record to scoring 5 European championships on the bounce. And he missed it. He missed it. And you think to yourself, is that it? A Portugal chance is going to go up in smoke today. And for large parts of that second half, it looked that way. Hungary got deeper. They counter-attacked well. They made it very, very difficult for Portugal to really move the ball with any real speed. And that's what made it an entertaining game, because then they started pouncing on the counter-attack. Hungary put the ball in the back of the net. You thought, wow, is it going to be smash and grab? Are they going to nick the winner? No. No, the game moved late on. And there you saw it. 84th minute, he moved a little bit deeper to impact the play more. Dropped that shoulder, sent a dummy, and then Bruno Fernandes with a top-class defense-splitting ball that set things in motion. I think the ball then fell to Rafa Silva. Rafa Silva then squares that pass. It was Rafa Silva, number 15. I was just checking. He squares that pass. It takes an awful deflection. It falls to Guerrero, who takes a shot, and again, it shouldn't even be classed as his goal. It should be an own goal, really, the level of deflection that it took. Don't even think it was going in, but it does. And they get that break. They get that little bit of fortune that I think their play deserved in the game. And then the hearts and the souls. And as I tweeted, Bruno Fernandes didn't just break the defense. He didn't just break the lines. He didn't just break the deadlock with that wonderful pass from deep. That vision to see where Rafa Silva was going to be, where the space was going to appear. It wasn't free. His pass, he knew it was going to appear. It was like Harry Potter was playing. He didn't just break the deadlock and the lines or anything else. He broke the hearts. He broke the spirit of Hungary, because after that goal, they fell apart. 2 more goals in quick succession. A guarantee 100% stonewall penalty put away by Ronaldo, who broke the record, who made history, the first player ever to score in 5 European championships on the bounce. And then they came alive, Portugal. The juices were flowing. The tiki-taka, the wonderful approach play in the build-up to the third goal, an assist by Rafa, who deserved it, really, because he came on and really helped change the game, that injection of pace. And do you know what they needed? They needed that injection of pace, somebody running in behind, pulling people out. And that's why Bruno Fernandes knew that the space would be there, because the way Rafa was moving, it was dragging people out of positions. I think with Bernardo Silva and with Jota, Ronaldo's a lot more static than he used to be now because of his age. There wasn't enough movement. It made it harder for the deeper lying players, the midfielders, the Brunos, to create. Rafa changed that. I'm glad he got his assist. And then Cristiano Ronaldo finished it off. I thought there was a smidge of offside about it, but we don't get shown the lines here. A brace from Ronaldo that opened his account. The defending champions get themselves underway with a 3-0 victory. And look, were they scintillating for 90 minutes? No. Did they get the job done? Yes. I saw a lot of tweets from people. Portugal are bad. People were rating them. And I'm thinking to myself, hang on a minute. That's how they played the whole of the last tournament, in that exact same way today. So anybody that's writing them off after one performance, control yourselves. Control yourselves massively. They're going to come alive after that. I think the confidence will be there. Not great day today for Jota. I think overall, Cristiano Ronaldo won't be happy with his performance. He missed a massive chance in the middle. But you know what? Goal scorers, the one thing goal scorers have always been privileged with, they can miss, score the winners or the important goals, and they take all the plaudits. They really, really do. I think that they'll want a bit more from that game. I think maybe Sanchez might need to start the next game. Matinho, a little bit more guile on the ball than the two gentlemen, Pereira and William Carvalho. I know he's only 29, but it feels like he's been around for about 30 years. Maybe a little bit more guile and better ability on the ball they might need in that second game, Portugal. But they win 3-0. They get themselves off the mark instantly. And as we say, I know a lot of people don't like him, but Cristiano Ronaldo makes history today. He's now only 3 goals away from becoming the highest international goal-scoring football player of all time. and he's just behind the Iranian, whose name right now, I read it before I came on. It eludes me. I didn't even know who he was. So he's got to beat his record. Ronaldo's going to beat it at this tournament, isn't he? Ronaldo is going to score at least 3 more goals at this tournament. I can see it and feel it already. He'll have the bit between his teeth now. And Portugal have laid down a marker as well. I want to shout out Hungary before we start going to your calls as well. And when I say they've laid down a marker, this is what Portugal do. This is how they've been successful. This is how they won the Nations League. It's how they won the last Euros. Like, to discount them is crazy, in my opinion. Are they favourites? No. Can they win it? Absolutely. Because they'll be nullified tonight. And then it was one pass, set them on their way, and then they came alive. They've laid down that marker. Ronaldo could break some records here. Still some improvements like most teams so far. Sets us up nicely. Just over an hour to kick off between France and Germany. What an evening we have in store. Super chat here says, felt bad for Hungary. They were defending so well in the second half, but after that deflection went in, you saw Hungary players were out of it. I hear that. I did feel sorry for them because I actually was watching them. They're well organized, technically good on the ball. They were tidy. They're not a bad team. I don't think anyone's going to rip them apart in this tournament, even if they go out of the group stages. I know 3-0 looks like they got ripped apart, but it was. I think if they would have scored early, Portugal, there wouldn't have been the collapse in the same way. I think the collapse came because of when they conceded. We are going to take your calls very soon on the terrace. We've got a super chat here. It says, Bruno was awful. Can't dribble, hold the ball, leave space in the middle, actually allowed counters, had nothing to do with the win. France and Germany will bury them, is what KC has got to say there about Bruno Fernandes's performance today. Do you agree? Do you agree with that? Was Bruno Fernandes awful? Was he dribbling bad? Was he passing bad? Was his spatial awareness bad? Give me your thoughts. Give me your feelings on that. I mean, 3 key passes, 3 chances created. Got the pre-assist for opening up that play and that goal today. Dispossessed 0 times in this game. In terms of pass succession today, 87% pass completion rate. So he barely lost the ball today. In terms of dribbling, you're absolutely right. He's not a great dribbler. But no one in the Portugal team outside of Semedo did more than 1 dribble today. So that's your views. That's your opinion. Do you agree with KC on Bruno Fernandes? Maybe that can be our poll. Maybe we can put that out today. Let's see another super chat here. Where's that gone? Here we go. Monsieur Ahmed says, Messi who? I can see 3 goals easily to beat Ali's record. Hamid says, props to Hungary. They stayed in the game until the last 5 minutes. France won't score more than 1 against Hungary's team if they play like this. It's going to be an intriguing one. I think with Portugal, just don't write them off. The way they've won the last couple of tournaments, they played very much in this way, in this shape or form. Some of you were saying KC Super Chat is facts. Others are saying Bruno was good today. For me, do you know what's interesting? Do you know what I find interesting about Bruno's performance? I'd give him like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 today. I don't think his overall performance was out of this world. No, not at all. I don't actually think any player was above a 7 in terms of their overall performance. But sometimes it isn't about how you perform. It's about those key moments. And what I find interesting, a few people laughing at pre-assists, or it's a key pass, is what you really call it. It's just whatever you want to call it. People say sometimes, if he isn't scoring or assisting, what else is he doing? Well, he opened up the play there. What I love about Bruno Fernandes is no matter what he does, people are angry. They're only really satisfied if he does absolutely nothing in a game. In fact, they're actually angrier when he does nothing and then when he does things. It's strange. But listen, he did okay today. I'm just talking about if he hadn't have opened that team with a pass, I wouldn't have spoke about him so much in this review. I definitely think Jota's place could be up for grabs in this starting lineup. Poor touches today, bad decision making. There's one thing missing: opportunities, bad execution. But twice he stopped, for me, what should have been clear goals. Should have put Bruno Fernandes in, but he shot. And then should have left the ball should have put Ronaldo in, but shot. Should have allowed the ball to run to Bruno Fernandes in that first half, and he didn't. But you know what? It was all for the right reasons for Jota, trying to win for his team, trying to win for his nation, and it just didn't quite come off. A comment here says, no one created the first goal. There were so many deflections, was pure luck. Listen, if that's our view, so let me put this out to the Football Terrace community. So we're no longer going to credit passes from deep that open up the play, that allow the final ball or the crosses to go in. We're now going to discount them from football forever. If that's what we're saying, then that's what we'll do. No more pre-assists. They do not count in games. No more key passes. They're done. If a pass opens up the play, no longer counts. Cool. Is that what the football terrorist community wants? Let me know. Let me know. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued here. Let's have a little look here. Did Liverpool play 45 million for dead food? Can't pass the ball. Jota, Sanchez, save Portugal. Harrison here says, could feel the excitement bring to slander Bruno. It was obvious. I love that Bruno can be average, but can change a game with one action. World class is what Harrison Yang thinks. Agree. Jota was poor. I can admit that. Do you know what it is? I look at it this way. No, I think Jota's a brilliant football player. He had a bad game today, though. There's no doubt. Ronaldo, one of the greatest of all time, had an average game today until he scored a brace. And that's the thing. When you're an attacking players and defensive players are the polar opposites, both in what they're meant to do, keep out and score, opposites, but also in terms of how they're judged as players, generally speaking. If a defender has a poor game, your team can often lose, right? Doesn't matter. He made 10 great tackles. He makes that one mistake, it's all over. A striker works in the opposite direction. There's a reason that goals are so important. They're what you pay the most for. They're the highest paid people. And if you think about most heroes at football clubs, the majority of goal scorers or attackers, it's just the way the world is. We've already had that. I already had that super chat there. Thank you. We're going to go to your calls now, ladies and gentlemen. I want to get you on the air, but before we do that, a little bit of admin as ever, if possible, please. Can you retweet if you're watching over on Twitter? Can you follow if you're watching on Twitch and hit that like button, share button, and of course, turn on the bell notifications if you're watching on YouTube with this wonderful, wonderful football terrace community. Someone here saying, for F's sake, Bruno also played badly, is what Diego Jota has got to say. And you're entitled to that opinion, my friend. You're entitled to come on here and say that at the same time. I don't think he played as badly as Jota. I don't think he played as badly as Pereira in the middle. I didn't think he looked very good today at all. Broke up play, okay. I thought William Carvalho had an average game. We haven't spoken about it. I mean, I thought Ruben Diaz didn't like the Ruben Diaz. He looked like Phil Jones at times today, sort of out of position at times, a little bit all at sea. So not everyone had great games today. Bruno, for me, I'd say 6 out of 10 I was going to give him. That defense cut-in pass, game-changing pass he played, 0.5 up, 1.0 up, no doubt about it. We're going to share that link now for you to call in and have your say on the football terrace this afternoon. Really intrigued to know what you're going to... Someone here says Bruno Fernandes wins games, not titles. That is a fair argument that cannot be debunked. Right now, that is a fact of life. So I'll give you that one, my friend. KJ's with us now to have his say. What are you saying, buddy?
First of all, you Liverpool fans, stop crying about, oh, stop slating Jota, leave him alone. Oh, Bruno was shut up. He was terrible. Man should have got taken off time ago, bruv. I'm upset, Terry. I'm annoyed at that win. You know why? Because them man didn't deserve it. They didn't. And I'm not even trying to blame the players like as a whole. Because if certain managers had that display, that performance, certain things will be said about those managers, innit? So let's speak on it. Santos, that was terrible. Absolutely terrible. You could see Diogo Jota having a terrible, terrible game. Couldn't take him off. You could see that Bernardo Silva was doing nothing. Didn't take him off for ages. You could see that you had two DMs in William Carvalho and Pereira doing niche. There's times where they would make a forward pass. There is space to run into to help the Brunos, to help the Jotas and Ronaldos. And they would just stand there, just in front of the defense, doing nothing. It was so bad. I don't care what anyone says. After this tournament, he needs to be sacked.
It's one game. It's one game, brother.
No. He is not the guy to take this squad forward. He's not. I don't believe it. Before, back in 2016, when they had a limited squad and the talent wasn't there and they're still relying on Quaresma and Varela and Eder and them and there and Nani, I get it. I get it. Play compact, defensive, do X, Y, Z. But now you've got actual footballers that can play football. Use them. Why are you playing 2 DMs? Why are you not? If you're gonna play 2 DMs like traditionally like that, yeah. Why aren't you encouraging William Carvalho or Daniel Pereira to go forward? Just lose the staticness. I'm sorry, man, but he needs in the next games against Germany and Portugal. He needs to show more. He needs to show more. And you can call it reactionary, whatever, but I don't care. It's been 5 years since he won that tournament. Times have moved on. Your squad's moved on from that point.
Listen, I kind of understand what you're saying. So I understand what you're saying, but are we not judging it a little bit too early? Like, let's see how they settle in the next game. There's obviously going to be rotations, João Felix and Moutinho and Sanchez to come into this side, or you just I don't know. Are you not judging it a little bit early?
No, from what I've seen and what I've seen of Portugal over the how many years, you could see this team was evolving from one point to another, but he hasn't fully evolved with it. And that's where I'll get to the point where it's just like, come on, man, you can't be this stubborn. Like I said, if this was Southgate dropped that performance, y'all will call him, you'll be calling for his head, even if he had won the World Cup. So I don't see why the energy is different just because he's a different manager whose name is Santos. Ooh, fancy. Nah, bun that, man. Like,
bro, I do hear that. Look, I'm going to put you backstage because we're gonna have a bit of a debate later because we put the poll up right now in the live feed. So stay with us, viewers, for this debate. We're going to get a bit of a panel together later. I'm asking this question. I'm changing it up slightly. The question is going to be, I don't need your answer now, but is Ronaldo the greatest European football player of all time? European football player. I'm not talking about world because we're focused on the Euros here. Is he the greatest European football player of all time? We're going to get KJ back on with us later to speak about that. I want to go some more calls right now. Before that, Terrace here says 11 shots more than England. Most shots in this tournament. KJ Sly as F. France loving. You thought a drop of points. Nah, sacked. Their king is Santos. Man like Terence stepping up there and having his say. We're going to be getting man like Najir Sunshine on soon. Peterson's going to be on soon. Mohamed's going to be on soon. Before that, I don't know if he's upset because of everyone having a pop at Jota, but young man Tom Little is here. What are you saying, buddy?
I can't have a go. Having a pop at Jota was awful. It's just really that Portugal performance today. There was a lot of expectations coming into this, weren't it? You know, this was the last time they weren't expected to get far. This time they are. They've got a really good squad. And for 83 minutes, it was a really disappointing performance in terms of finishing, in terms of it just didn't look cohesive. And the only reason I could put it down to is last time when they won it, Ronaldo was the key man. Everything went through Ronaldo. You get it to him and let him create, let him score. Now you've got to worry about Bruno Fernandes, who is best when he gets on the ball. Jota is best when he gets on the ball, even though he didn't show it today. I thought Renato Sanchez, when he came on, was very good. Gave them a different dynamic to that midfield. But with Portugal now, they've got three players in attack. João Felix will probably want the ball to do what he's best at. You know, they've got a lot of players in attack now who need the ball to do their best. And they're not going to get it because Ronaldo gets it. Rightly so.
Yeah.
You're going to get worse performances of certain players.
Yeah, I mean, I think what people have got to realize, you know, Bruno Fernandes, he isn't a lot of Man United's play. I love this, actually. I was listening to a Portuguese fan speak about Portugal the other day, and he was basically saying that Bruno Fernandes, the approach play goes through him at Portugal as opposed to him almost being the end point for Man United. He then laughed about it because he basically, he wasn't talking to me, I was listening to him. He basically made a quip saying, and Man United fans say they don't have a system. You can't have a system if the ball ends up at... Anyway, it's not a good system, but it's a system. So I think Bruno's used differently. I think Jota may be used differently as well. The whole system is get the ball to Ronaldo. He's going to put the ball in the back of the net. In simplistic terms, it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves in tournaments. So, and to KJ's point, they didn't look great at times today. But where I think you've got to give the manager time is who can he bring in? You know, maybe it's Jota, maybe it's Bernardo Silva, maybe it is Bruno Fernandes. One of them is dropped, and maybe João Felix comes in as an option. Maybe throughout the course of this tournament, you almost see the handing over of the baton to somebody else. These things have happened in tournaments before. It's going to be an intriguing one to see how this kind of plays out as far as I'm concerned. But in terms of Portugal as being a threat, did you see anything today that makes you think they could retain their title?
Ronaldo. He was so out of it at times, then he popped up with 2 goals and the third one, his second and third goal, it was brilliant skill by him. Great movement. He's always going to be a threat. And if Bruno and Jota and João Felix and the manager can get it right behind him, he could carry them even more so than he did when they won it last time. He could carry them to another win because he looks even better. I don't know how he gets better as he gets older, but he just does. It's ridiculous what he does.
He doesn't drink Coca-Cola, he drinks water. So I think that's one thing that definitely could push that. Tom, we'll keep you backstage to get you on for the Ronaldo debate. Speak to you very, very soon. Top man. Next up on the show, Sunshine's going to be here with us. Before we do that, we've got a couple of super chats I've got to do. The first one, a lot of overreacting going on. Teams are going to look bad. It's the first game, for crying out loud. All the players were poor, but they got the W. We had another super chat here from Silver Spring, who says it took Ronaldo 5 tournaments to reach 10 goals. Incredible achievement. I think what you've got to understand here, and this may be your age, and I don't mean this to sound condescending in any which way. The first 2, maybe 3, I would say 3, because he was 17, 18 at the first one. Ronaldo was an out-and-out winger. And the first 2, definitely, football hadn't really created the inside forward or the goal-scoring wide player at that time. It wasn't until Ronaldo started doing that in 08, 09, and they had to produce things. So he was an out-and-out winger. If a winger scored 1 or 2 goals at a tournament prior to sort of, I don't know, 2013, 2014, that era, that was sensational. So I think it's sometimes we look at now the old Premier, Ryan Giggs weren't that great and scored 4 or 5 goals in the season. That was good for a winger. If a winger had between 5 and 10 goals, when Robert Perez came to the Prem, I think he banged in 12 goals. That was looked at as groundbreaking because the position was very different in them days. Next on the show, Sunshine's here with us. What you saying, buddy?
Hey, what's good, King? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm tired, man. It's funny because I didn't see the whole. Sorry, I'm gonna go upstairs. Cat's following. I didn't see the whole. You'll probably follow anyway. So if you get me out, then it's not me. Just saying.
It's all good.
Yeah, I think I didn't see the whole of the game. So I was at the gym, but as soon as I got back, saw the second half, and I was just like, what? Like, no, this don't look great. And for me, just what I can only pick bits and bits out. But Bruno, bro, like, I'm with you. You know, that key pass thing. It's important. Like, you can say everything's lucky, yeah, but listen, before the luck happened, yeah, with all the ricochets, Bruno had a conscious mind to make that pass. He wasn't sure what was going to come after that. He wasn't sure whether it'd be a bicycle kick. He wasn't sure whether Ronaldo would miss. He wasn't sure whether it hit the post or the keeper would just collapse. You just don't know in football. But ultimately, before the luck happened, Bruno did his job. So you give him credit, whatever happens after that. The way the goal went in, okay, that's where you talk about the luck and everything else. But you have to give Bruno credit for that. You can't just disregard it because the way the goal went in.
Do you know what's funny? If you never crossed the ball into the box, played a full through ball, had a shot, do you know that a team would never score an own goal? Like, own goals are lucky, but do you know what? You've got to put the ball in. You've got to create those opportunities. And I think some people, when I initially tweeted out, it was a good pass, but like it ricocheted twice. How is it a good pass? I think some people thought Bruno was the guy that was Rafa Silva initially, because people saying it deflected, and I was like, did it? I actually rewound the TV. I'm like, did I miss it deflect? And it didn't. But I agree. Listen, did he have a world-class performance today? No. But Bruno isn't about controlling, and I think people have got to learn with Bruno. He's never going to play in a game where for 95 minutes, including injury time, he dominates every element of proceedings. He is a moment player. He's a good, tidy footballer. And he's a moments player. And he nearly had a moment in the first half where he crossed that ball in and Ronaldo should have scored. He nearly had another moment in the first half where he found himself in the right area. The ball was played to him, but Jota got in the way. That's what Bruno Fernandes is. He's almost like a midfield striker in many ways. He comes up when he needs to. And I think people just got to learn to accept what he is as a football player, as opposed to, because he isn't doing what KDB does, I'm going to say is rubbish. I suppose that's where I look at it and get a bit frustrated. It's, You're asking him to be something he's not. Just be very happy that that's what he is, you know?
Exactly. I think that's the thing with people. Like, we live in a world where finding faults is the easiest thing. And in the moment, if you find one fault, it just basically papers over all the good cracks. Ultimately, that's what people do in this day and age. What I found. So I think you have to take the rough with this move, and you have to look at the whole picture and go, okay, every football player, even Ronaldo, has areas of improvement or has weaknesses that they can't really improve anymore because of, let's say, age or the type of player they've turned into. For example, as you were mentioning, Ronaldo was an out-and-out winger. Obviously, as he's progressing in his season is now, he's what, a centre forward, striker, doesn't make as many runs as he used to. He's not doing all the tricks and stuff that I grew up watching at Old Trafford. He's not doing those things anymore. You may see the odd step over and that, and everyone's like, oh, a bit of nostalgia, wicked. But you know what I mean? That's not Ronaldo anymore. So respectfully, like, Ronaldo's not that guy anymore. However, he adapts his game, and everyone's got weaknesses. So to say Bruno isn't, X, Y, Z is ridiculous because he hasn't got one thing. I mean, I saw some guy comment, and respectfully, he said like 10 goals in his first 5, whatever he said. It just looks stupid. Anyway, I'm thinking it's a different era of football. He was a different footballer then to what he is now. What he's done is just adapted who he is because he wants to maintain, his status within the game, and he's found another angle. And that's what very few people tend to do in their real life. They'll grow up thinking they're one thing, and then the moment that moment kind of just stops, they can't find anything else to go into. They don't adapt. So then they go, oh, I used to be this, I used to be this, I used to be that. Ronaldo's not a used to be. Here's what is next. What can I do next?
Yeah,
what I am. Mindset. That's it.
It's why I rate Ryan Giggs as one of the greatest footballers, like in Premier League era, because he went from being a marauding winger to a very capable midfielder. So listen, at his peak, their peaks, I think Gareth Bale was a better winger than him. But in terms of who's the better overall footballer, I would still go with Giggs because I can't imagine Gareth Bale being able to become a midfielder and dominate and win Premier Leagues in central midfield. And there's sometimes people's peaks can be higher than others. But actually, when I think of greatness, which is the debate we're going on to later, it's that consistency of performance at the highest level and being influential in whatever role you're given. That's what I love about Cristiano Ronaldo, as you say. If he would have just carried on trying to be a winger, he wouldn't have even been picked for Portugal for the last 5 years or so because he isn't good enough to do that anymore because of age and injury and everything else, mate. But listen, thanks very much for coming on, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it, bro.
Big ups, man.
Yeah, lovely, mate. Speak to you soon. Top man. Cheers, sunshine. Thank you. Next on the show, we're going to go to Ziad. Ziad is here. What are you saying, buddy?
Hello, Terry. Yeah, it was a good game. I thought toward the Portugal started off well. They went into the second half. Ended the first half. I don't know how they didn't have a goal or two. I thought Jota was disappointing. A lot of miscontrolling. Could have put Ronaldo through. Maybe he didn't hit that shout for Bruno. But I think what Portugal lacked a bit is, in a way, that vocal point up front, that number 9, because they were playing with the football, right? But then when they brought the ball into the middle of the pitch, I didn't see anyone any threat in there that really challenged the defenders for the ball. But I think for Portugal, who they may not be favourites, but they've got a very high chance of winning the Euros. I think you've got to give credit to Hungary because they really did do a lot of things right today. I'm not too sure of his name, but the number 9, he was a big trouble today for Hungary. He was coming deep, collecting the ball, looking for the over the top ball. Set piece, he was dangerous. He was a very key player for Hungary today. And our credit for one player for Portugal, I think Bernardo Silva. I think he was playing well. He's always coming to collect the ball, always ready to link up and create chances. I just thought that the final number 9 wasn't there today for Portugal. But overall, look, Ronaldo comes up when you need him, and look, he is a different player, Terry. Because if you take away those 2 goals today, you wouldn't think he had a good game because he didn't really have a good game. But as soon as they got that 1 goal, it's like he's like, all right, we've pretty much got only a couple minutes left, but I want to go. I want to get involved, and that's where he gets the penalty.
Well, and you know what? You're absolutely right. And do you know what's interesting about that as well, Ziad? This tournament, getting out of the group stages or coming second and not third and getting an easier draw in the next round, it could all come down to goal difference. So as much as people, that's why I think it was important for them to. It's one of the reasons why Croatia didn't open up too much against England. They knew they were struggling to break us down. They didn't want to leave themselves exposed to concede any more goals. It was almost like they settled for a 1-0 defeat, thinking we're better than the Czechs and we're better than the Scots and we should be able to get through. And what Ronaldo and that have done is laid a marker down now. It's going to be difficult. They've given us a great advantage with goal difference. They're going to want to come top of this group. And I wouldn't write them off now, finishing top of the group after starting off so well. Ziad, thanks for coming on, mate, and having your say. Top man, thank you. Remember, we're going to get Tom and KJ back on very soon. We're debating it tonight. Is Cristiano Ronaldo the greatest European football player of all time? 106 goals he scored internationally. He's won the Euros. He's won the Nations League. He scored in 5 European championships on the bounce. He's a 5 times Ballon d'Or winner. He's a 5-time Champions League winner. If someone's better than him, I want to know now. I want to know who is a greater football player than him in terms of ability, statistics, and trophies. That's what we've got a basis on, right? Get your comments in now. Get your super chats in. If you want to talk about it and give us your opinions, we'll run your super chats by the panel when they come on. Next on the show, Peterson is here. What are you saying, buddy?
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. What are you here to say, buddy?
Yeah, I think the game was really entertaining. Like, really entertaining. I think Hungary did really well. Like the other guys said, their number 9 was incredible. Obviously, he didn't score, he didn't set up, but like the run he was doing was excellent, which I think that Portugal lacks, because I was seeing Ronaldo today. He didn't do much. Obviously, scored 2 goals. That's the most important thing, but he didn't do too much. He didn't move. He stayed in the box and was waiting for cross or pass, whatever, which I think, I'm not going to tell Ronaldo how to move. Obviously, it's like probably one of the greatest footballers of all time. But I mean, I think it was really poor from him today. And I think that the penalty was not a pen, but still wonderful match. I cannot say anything bad about that. Wonderful match. But I have a question for you, Terry. Is it like the first 3 teams that go through?
So no. So the first 2 teams get guaranteed to go through, and then of the 6 groups, there'll be the 4 best third place teams. So essentially, everyone who comes third will then get put into their own league table. You won't be shown that league table, and it'll be the ones with the most points or best goal difference. So let's just say if you were to finish third on 4 points with a decent goal difference, you're very likely to go through. So that's why the more goals you score, the better. You know, because theoretically they could lose the next 2 games 1-0 now, and still go through to the next round. But of course, they will then get a group winner of another group, which means it'll be a harder tie on paper, a harder tie. But who knows who's going to win those groups? So yeah, it's that's why the group of death is not really
exactly.
Really.
That's why I asked the question, because the way they were playing today, Portugal, I think instead of Bruno, I think maybe Yao Felix maybe should have come on maybe early or whatever. But because I think if they play like that against France and Germany, it's not going to go well for them. So I hope they will help prove. But even though I want France to win because my girlfriend is from France, but I mean, if they play like that, I don't see them doing well in this tournament, especially when you have France and Germany. So yeah.
I hear you, mate. Listen, Peterson, thanks very much for coming on, mate, and having your say. Appreciate that, bro. Top man. Thank you. Next caller is going to be Mohammed. Mohammed's a Liverpool fan. What are you saying, buddy?
Hello, Terry. Yeah, that 3-0 result really flattered Portugal today. That were all poor performances all over the pitch for Portugal. I suppose Bruno, out of the whole players, he had the better game. Jota was very wasteful. Ronaldo average, but even though he scored those 2 goals and he broke the record. Hungary gave a good account of themselves as well. I was impressed with the way they were sitting back and trying to catch them on the counter attack. Could have been a different story, but it's one of those things. At the end of the day, they really collapsed towards the end because of that goal. Portugal.
In terms of your boy today, Diogo Jota, he didn't have a great game. Would you think he should be given another chance in the next match, or do you think maybe a player like João Felix should come in? There should be a bit of a reshuffle.
I think there was a few other players that didn't play good. I think Jota on another day, Jota would have scored 1 or 2 goals on another day. I think this next game he'll be definitely playing. I personally think they won't change anything up in the next game, Portugal.
Fair dues. Listen, thank you very much, Mohammed, and coming on and having your
Thanks
say.
for having me on, Terry.
Appreciate it, mate. Not a problem. I think it'd be very, very interesting to see what Portugal do next. When you look at their bench, I'm just looking at it now. You've got Renato Sanchez, could start. Rafa, both Silvas that came on in that game. Rafa Silva looked lively. Matinho, could he start? And then you start looking at, Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves, I think could also come into the fray here as well. They've got lots of options. João Felix, I haven't even mentioned his name. João Felix as well. A lot of people saying, why didn't he come on? It's a disgrace. Well, look, Jack Grealish didn't come on. It's a long tournament. Give it time. Maybe, like England's first game was their hardest game. So they played their best, maybe not their best team, but they played the team that was, they needed to get through that. Maybe João Felix and a few more players come in for the hardest 2 games in the group next. So maybe we should just reserve the judgment as it stands right now. Grey Wolf Dinner says, Johan Cruyff is the only player who competes with Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm seeing a lot of names come in when it comes to this debate. I'm seeing Zidane. I've seen Thierry Henry. It's all great. I'm not discounting any. Why, though? There has to be rationale, not just Zidane. A few people say Zidane looked better. I'll give you that. Zidane had that he was the best at it, but that kind of, from a Prem point of view, he had that sort of Cantona, Sheringham, Birdcamp, nonchalant kind of a way of doing things, but he didn't look like he was trying, but he was. He was the best at that, I think, ever. So I understand eye test wise he passes it, but on overall things, eye test and ability, trophies, and individual outputs. Got to look at all those things there, I think. I want to know who's better. We're going to bring the gents back on now. We're going to get Tom and KJ back in with us here to have their say on this. How you doing, gents?
Good.
Good. I want to put this to yourselves first of all. I'm going to KJ first on this. Is Cristiano Ronaldo, in your opinion, the greatest European football player ever?
Yes. I don't even see why you're calling it debate, because there's nothing to debate, because it is a fact that Ronaldo is the best European player. He's the greatest. He's got the trophies. He's got the goals. He's got the assists. He's got the freaking records, man. Like, what is there to even debate and discuss? Like, it just is what it is. And if people are saying, "Oh, nah, there's this player, X player," I'm sorry that I don't think they can even come close to him. People saying there's no World Cup, but he's got a Euros, Nations League. Every nation has been into has won their domestic league, won their domestic cups, Ballon d'Ors, Champions League. The list is too long. That one World Cup can't change it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because someone here, I'm not going to take the credit for this, from Baz, he tweeted actually saying Franz Beckenbauer, 4 European finals. I don't know how many he's actually won. I think he means international finals, 2 Euros, 2 World Cups, 1 World Cup winners medal, 1 Euro winners medal. So he's won like a World Cup and that. He says Ronaldo is the greatest European club player without a doubt, but not internationally. But the question we're asking is a combination of the two things. So I understand that there'll be some Germans out there that you could say, well, some German players have won World Cups and Euros, so therefore they're better. When you weigh up and throw into that 106 goals that he scored, the Ballon d'Ors that he has won, what he has achieved at club level, the longevity within his play. When you think about all those things, Tom, is there someone that you think pips Cristiano Ronaldo to being the greatest ever European footballer?
No. I mean, what he's doing is obscene, especially at his age. 106 goals. He's 3 off the record all time, not just European, across the world. He hasn't won a World Cup, but for what he's done on a club level, I don't think there's many players that can actually compare. Back-to-back Champions Leagues. That's something that is ridiculously hard to do, and he was the talisman for each one of them. On an international stage, he dragged a below-par Portugal team, who, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they finished 3rd in the group.
Yeah, not
and got through by that. he dragged them to a final, and they won it. You know, he won the Nations League for them. What he's done is ridiculous, and I think there's players that have great legacies, but he has the best.
Yeah, I think what's impressive with him as well is you know, people say like, you know, it's 175 caps as well. So people say I had loads more games to do it, but people have to understand that for at least the first 80 to 90, maybe even 100 caps, he was a winger, stroke inside forward. Something that doesn't get spoken about enough, and I read this in Gary Neville's book called Red. Cristiano Ronaldo is invented or reinvented what wide players do. And I'm not going to be able to remember this word for word verbatim. I'm going to have to paraphrase. But it was essentially the way he was coming in from deep, from that right-hand side to get onto goal-scoring opportunities, the way where he would position himself during attacks as a winger, help create the concept of these inverted forwards and in the way that everybody started to develop into. No winger, no wide player was scoring like that and creating like that at the time. Him and Messi was coming through at the same time. There's no doubt about it. But it was almost like what I love about the Messi and the Ronaldo situation. It was almost as if that they were just, it was, okay, well, this is what you're doing. I'm going to do this. And they almost made each other better. And of course, Messi's not in this conversation because he's not European, although a lot of Argentinians do call him Spanish because they haven't got the same affinity. And on Messi, really quickly, a lot of people slag off his international pedigree. He's the 12th highest goal-scoring international ever on 73 goals. It's not like he's had a bad international career, like a lot of people try and make out. But
yeah, it's not his fault that he puts it on a plate for Higuain in the World Cup final and he misses. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, there's only so much more the man can do before you start to question his teammates. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Leave Messi alone, man. The whole Messi fanboy and Ronaldo fanboy is an illness, man. Like, just enjoy both of them. You can have your favorite, yeah. But just enjoy both of them, please.
There's a comment here says Zidane is levels above Cristiano Ronaldo, has a World Cup. If you want goals, then it has to be good. Muller, World Cup, 3 Champions Leagues, Euros. Then Xavi, Iniesta with 4 Champions League, World Cup.
But you've named 4 players there where Ronaldo is very comparable to all of them. You've had to name 4 players to pick out individual parts of Ronaldo.
And the thing is, yeah, he says levels above, like Cristiano Ronaldo hasn't got more goals, more trophies than them. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's the point there. So what you've done there, I mean, Xavi and Iniesta are really good shouts. Xavi and Iniesta are really good shouts because they've won a World Cup, they've won Euros, they've won a lot of things domestically. So you kind of weigh that up. They're very hard to compare statistically because, of course, the outputs of midfield players, and especially Xavi's and Iniesta's, who were, for the majority of their careers, were not played in attacking positions. Yes, Iniesta played out of the 700 club games. I think he played between 90 and 100 of them in more attacking roles. But that's still a minority of your overall majority of your performances. Just to look at other things. I think that Xavi and Iniesta are absolutely fantastic shouts. But again, the one thing that I then put above is this. You can't, it's hard. The World Cup thing, some people say it's fair's fair, all's fair in love and war. Depends what country you're from and what the quality of everybody else is like at that particular time. Because France are an amazing, almost feel like an enigma to me. What I saw as a kid from France from like 98 through to like the early 2000s was amazing. What we have now is amazing. Look in the middle of that. Right? But if you were a world-class French player in the middle of that era, you had almost no chance of winning. Raul is one of the greatest strikers in the history of European football, but he didn't play in any great Spanish sides, so he didn't have the same accolades. So you have to discount that for all players at all times. But with Ronaldo, I think, again, the thing that puts him above all of them players for me, and I don't know this about Muller, so I have to research it, so I've got to leave him out of this, is Ronaldo, as he got older and he changed, he adapted, but remained world-class in his new position. That remaining of being world-class, why Paul Scholes, for me, wins the midfield debate. Because as he got older, in the Premier League midfield debate, and he moved deeper, he remained amazing. And that's, for me, where Ronaldo, as an overall football player, it's like he could adapt and change as he got older, and he remained one of the best in the world at doing it, When Dwight York, and it's a warped example, I know, but when Dwight York became a midfielder, he didn't become one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. That's what Ronaldo has done. He's gone from being one of the best wingers to be one of the best strikers in the world. That is just amazing.
For me, yeah, when you're in the debate of the greatest player to ever have played football, but then you're in that debate, but then there's apparently mandem that are levels above you in Europe, just in Europe alone. That doesn't make, to me, that doesn't make no sense. You can't be the greatest of all time in the debate, but then have in Europe other people that's better than you, who are levels above you. Like,
there's a comment from Ryan here who says 2 players close are Eusebio and Cruyff. Zidane's over his career at times was inconsistent, is what Ryan here says. Madrid and Juve fans say this. Well, that's interesting. Like, I don't know that they say this. I haven't researched that. It's an interesting point. Listen, Eusebio's quality is very, again, where I have to be very mindful here. Maybe I should have put a little asterisk and said like post 1990 or something, because I didn't watch those players play. So it's a difficult one for me to judge in the same way. But yeah, Johan Cruyff. The thing what I would say is every player that's been named so far are just out of this world good. They're just out of this world good. There's no doubt about it at all. But what I would say is Tom's point, or it might have been yourself, KJ, is in it's individual bits of these people are better. But when you put the overall package together, it's still very hard for me to look past Cristiano Ronaldo. Hardeep says fans Beckenbauer has back-to-back Champions Leagues as well.
So good, but so does with Cristiano Ronaldo.
I mean, Ronaldo has 5 of them.
Yeah, but he said Franz Beckenbauer did a 3-peat. So did Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo
was the talisman in every single one of them. Has one of the, I think he has the highest goal scorer in Champions League season ever. You just can't look past what he's achieved on a football pitch. What he's done is immense. People, I feel, take Messi and Ronaldo for granted. We're not going to see another player on their level for another 20 years. People are saying, oh, well, Haaland and Mbappe are going to come in. They won't touch them in terms of just natural ability. In terms of, we're not going to see a player who can do what Messi can do. They're generational type players. They're not players who are there every time.
The only way that Messi, Mbappe and Haaland reach those levels is if they do what the others do. And remember, Messi got 91 goals in a calendar year. 91 goals. You know how many years players try and get to that number? How many years? That's in someone's entire career. That's a striker's entire career for some people to get to 91. He did that in 1 year. So Mbappe and Haaland, we're excited for them because yes, they could be for our generation or the next generation the best players of their generation. But will they be hitting 90 goals a year, 50 goals a season, back to back to back?
Will they be dragging their teams to 6 trophies in a calendar year? I just can't see it. The way Messi and Ronaldo have done it.
It's very difficult to do.
Yeah, Messi and Ronaldo, for me, they've broken the barometer. Because, oh, by the way, every player that's being mentioned, I'm not saying Messi and Ronaldo are miles clear of, light years in front of, but they broke the barometer. With Messi and Ronaldo, barring international tournament wins for Messi, they're like everything. They've won all the trophies. They've been amazing in the majority of games they've played in. They've adapted their position. They've reinvented positions. They've almost, there's things that they say that's been done in the game that you'll remember forever as them. And by the way, you get Cruyff turns as an example. Like they've got those things as well. They're iconic. They've got the goals to go with it. And when I said they've broken the barometer, the goal element for attackers. So this is very, with your Franz Beckenbauers and your Xavis and Iniestas, you never look at them in those ways because different positions. But when you look at the goal element, anyone who's a goal scorer that ever thinks they're going to try and compete with those gentlemen, as you just said, they've scored more goals than anyone else has done in our lifetime. Ronaldo is the highest European goal scorer already in the history of football. It is very likely that actually in 60, 70, 80 years' time, his record still exists because only like 2 people have ever scored that amount of goals in the history of football. Yeah, in 120 years. So to think that someone's going to come along and match it, and this is why when I look at all of it, of course there's some elements. Someone's won a World Cup, so that's like if you create a tick box of all the things to be the greatest, that's the one that he doesn't have as an example. But He has everything else. He literally has everything else. Does everybody else achieve every single box being ticked? I don't know. You know, you think about another thing about a lot of this as well. Now, Franz Beckenbauer, Johan Cruyff, I'm not going to state this as facts because I'd have to research it. Ronaldo's been was regarded for nearly 10 years as the best or second best, not just in his position, but in the world for a decade. All those other players we mentioned, were they all looked at? And you'd have to speak to people in that era. Was Franz Beckenbauer looked at as the first or second best football player in the world for a decade, every year? I don't know. I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I don't think any of those players were. When we think about our era, we don't go. I don't know about too far. We all loved R9. We all loved Kaká. We all loved Ronaldinho. I'm naming pure resiliency. We loved all these players. We loved Thierry Henry. Were any of them looked at as the best in the world for a decade straight? They just weren't. And these two were. And listen, it's, you know, if Ronaldo was to like win this tournament this year, you know he's going to be in the top 5 for Ballon d'Or again. He won't win it because he just won't anymore, but he will. It's an amazing one, and I'm in awe of it, and I love watching him do what he does. And you know, him being a United legend, of course, I'm always going to be biased towards it as well. But viewers, we want your. I mean, the poll here, 85% of the poll say yes, he's the greatest ever European footballer. On Twitter, we've got the poll out on Twitter. And what's it saying on Twitter? I can't find it now. There's so many retweets today because of a man like Simon Phillips sharing our stuff from the Done Deal show. 84% on Twitter say that he is the greatest European football player of all time, is what's being stated there. Make sure, by the way, when you're done here, I know that the Germany game's kicking off, but make sure you go and check out the Done Deal show from today. So many updates. I can't even name them all here. Bernardo Silva leaving Man City. Declan Rice agreeing to move out of London if a bid comes in for him from particular northern teams. One of them is Man United. Another one is Liverpool that have made inquiries. Arsenal are going to go back in for the young Belgian player that they bid for today that most people don't know. They are going to go back in for him. And there's many, many more updates. Hakimi, a big Hakimi update in that as well. So go and check that video out. Aiden here says medical science plays a big part. It does. It does. But that's also why it's comparable, because yes, medical science means Ronaldo can play longer. It means he's fitter. It means he's faster. Balls are lighter. Boots are better. The grass is flatter. But so is everybody else he's playing against. So it isn't like Ronaldo's playing in this new era, but everybody else is still wearing steel toe cap boots with holes in the ground with balls that weigh about 5 pounds when they're wet. Everybody's doing it, and he's performing. Of course, how many more goals would a Muller or a Sir Bobby Charlton have scored in this modern day era? But then defenders would have been bigger, stronger, faster as well. It all plays a massive, massive part. You know, goalkeepers never used to wear gloves in those days. How many more goals would have been saved in that era if goalies had gigantic gloves on their hand with rubber grip rather than their bare hands? Like, there is how many more teams, if the pass back rule didn't exist? How much easier was it for defenders in Beckenbauer's era to be under pressure by a press and just pass it back to the goalie? The goalie can pick it up and then clear it long. There's so many elements. You can't just say, it's a great point, but there are so many factors. So what you have to look at is what was fair who was the best in that era and who was the best in that era, and look at achievements as opposed to, but this guy used to have holes in the ground. But this guy, like when you're a player now, people have got, how much footage is there on Ronaldo to work out how to try and stop him for a game? Messi. How much footage was there for a defender to learn how to stop Muller? Less. So it's horses for courses. It really, really is, I think, in relation to that. Zidane could do everything what Cristiano Ronaldo does. He definitely couldn't play centre forward and score over 106 goals internationally, Zidane. He definitely couldn't have played centre forward.
I think so. I mean, people sometimes mistake what they can do with football for what they actually do. You know what I mean? Like, Zidane could probably do everything that CR7 does with a football, but he didn't actually do that on the pitch. You know what I mean? In terms of, he didn't do everything Ronaldo's done. Otherwise, we were talking about Zidane versus Messi versus Ronaldo. Like, everybody, listen, I love Zidane, but let it go, bro. Let it go. It's CR7.
I hear, and you know what it is? Like, Zidane could do so many great things with the ball, but he can't do everything that Ronaldo can do, and Ronaldo can't do everything he can. And it's what's happening in this debate I'm seeing is people are picking specific things that Zidane or Muller or Beckenbauer achieved or can do that Ronaldo can't, and using that as the reason why they're better, as opposed to saying, right, these are all the things Beckenbauer can do, and as a collective, it outweighs Ronaldo. That's how you do a debate like that. There's a great point here from Slens, which is how important is the World Cup in this debate, though. I think World Cups and Euros are very important, but where you have to discount them is you have to look at eras that players played in. How good were their teammates? How good were their coaches? How good were, what was going on in the world at that particular time, to make these teams work. And I think that has to be factored in. Ronaldo's always played in decent Portuguese teams. But definitely, if you've got a World Cup, that's a big tick in your box that Ronaldo doesn't have. It is definitely important because it's a massive, massive achievement. There's no doubt about it at all. I don't think. A lot of people saying stop making excuses. It's not an excuse. I said it's a massive thing. I definitely said it was a massive thing. But then at the same time, are we going to take into account 106 goals internationally when you compare that to someone else? Are you going to allow that to go in? I don't know. You'll say different roles. I'm saying with different nations. It's the same argument. Zaza says, show me a whole game where Cristiano dominates like Zidane did against prime Brazil, and don't tell me the games he just scored him.
Well, it's difficult for a striker to dominate like a midfielder because they get less of the ball. They're not making tackles. But look at games like Ronaldo versus Atletico for Juventus. That Juventus team was really poor, and he goes and scores 2 brilliant headers and a penalty to single-handedly drag them through. There's so many iconic games of Ronaldo. And the thing that I just cannot look past in this debate, there's so many great players, but only him and Messi have over 5 Ballon d'Ors. So many great players have never won one, and they have 5 each. Messi has 6. And that's how ridiculous they are.
And the whole thing about the whole dominating, well, in certain games where he's scoring hat tricks, that's him dominating the game from his position.
Yeah, and look, he's played as winger and he's played as striker. Those roles don't dominate games or dictate play like central midfielders or cams do. That's just the simple fact of nature. But if you want to speak about an international game that stands out, I remember watching Cristiano Ronaldo against the best left back in the world at the time in the Euros in 2004, and Ronaldo just sitting Ashley Cole down every 30 seconds and absolutely had him on toast. But he didn't dictate the play because attacking players like him, that's not what they're designed to do, in my opinion. But of course, Zinedine Zidane, for me, was the best dictator. I think like Xavi and Iniesta are absolutely amazing, but I think Zidane at his peak was better. It's arguable that Xavi and Iniesta were at their best for longer, though. Maybe I'm being maybe that's recency bias creeping in a little bit there. Someone here says, Terry, what you're saying is because he scored the most goals that makes him the best player of all time. Freezy, I haven't said that once.
About that comment, yeah. Football's main objective is to score goals and win by scoring goals. So if you are a player that has scored the most of all time, you have to be in the consideration because you're legit the best at doing the main objective, which is to score goals.
Well, I remember listening. I swear it was Rio Ferdinand that said this years ago when I listened to him, and he said that the best footballers are the attackers. The best footballers are the ones that do the creating and the goal scoring. So you are by default. Because I remember it was a debate, and I've always said, like, well, why can't a goalie win the Ballon d'Or? Because Buffon at his best my view was it was as good as a footballer as, say, R9 at his best in terms of positionally. Like, it was as good. But then the argument that got thrown back wasn't Rio speaking to me. I watched a debate on this, and I swear it was Rio Ferdinand basically said, but the reason that someone's a goalie and the reason someone is a striker is because the striker is a better footballer. And I was like, I hear what you're saying, if that makes sense. Like, because of the position you play, you're already a better. Most people don't grow up wanting to be centre backs or full backs or goalies. They all want to be the creator or the striker.
You know that's true. You know that's true. Have you ever had friends who play semi-pro or maybe even pro in an academy or something? And when they play for their academy team or their semi-pro team, they play left back, centre back, CDM. But when they go down and play Power League with you or seven-a-side with you, they play striker. Yeah. That it just shows you up because the levels are different. When you play with us mere mortals, they can be like, I can play up front because I'm just better than everybody. But when they play with their level, It's a great peak.
My,
Still,
my cousin was a pro footballer, and he was a striker. I played with him, we played a game once, and he went in midfield. He said, "I'll play in midfield." He went, "I don't want to do the running of a striker today." The level still, just the ability he had on the ball, just at that level, like Sunday League level, it was like, this is ridiculous. Like at the time he was playing League One football, and he was just out of this world. But yeah, listen, and it is what it is. Not all strikers, old strikers definitely had footballing ability. So I think for me, like if you think about like Shearers and Michael Owens, they weren't technically proficient football players. There's no doubt about it. But Ronaldo didn't start off as a striker. Ronaldo started off as a winger, very highly gifted technically, decent passer of the ball as well. Like he ain't bad at it. Not saying he's nowhere near Zidane's level of passing ability, there's no doubt. But again, the argument about like, you could argue like Zidane versus Beckenbauer, like who technically is a better football player. Well, for me, it's going to be Zidane. So does that make him the greatest? I don't know. I think you have to look at, I think that's why you have to look at multiple factors. And in the end, you come up with a resolution. And for me, of all the players that have been named, they've all got great things. And Beckenbauer, one of the greatest defenders. Zidane, one of the greatest midfielders or cams, whatever like category people want to put him into. Xavi and Iniesta, they sit there with Zidane, in my opinion, in that front line because of what they achieved internationally. It's why I think in terms of overall, they go in front of the Paul Scholes for me because what they won internationally as well. On ability, Paul Scholes is in there with them, in my opinion. Like he sits in that group. And do you know why I'm saying that? Because they said he does. That they said he's in there with us boys. Do you know what I mean? But listen, it's a great debate. Make sure you leave your comments on what you think. We're back live after France, Germany, which kicks off in like 5 minutes time, which I'm very, very excited about. Someone here says R9 over CR7. Yeah, but we're doing Europe. Unfortunately, Brazil, last time I checked, isn't in Europe. So not involved in this debate. But listen, until next time, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again.